So this is a woman that came in to our clinic, and she was labeled with bulged discs in her neck, to the point where she had chronic pain of 7 to 8 out of 10 in the pain scale. What's the obvious thing you see here? Look at her left shoulder. Look at how high her left shoulder is. Now here's the thing. I know it's semantics, but it makes a difference. When I ask people to look at this picture, they typically tell me, I see a right shoulder lower. Right? It's kind of the first thing people say, oh yeah, the right shoulder is lower. Well, when you deal with compensation, we talked about compensation, right? Compensation is making up for something, correct? When you make up for something when it comes to the structural muscles, you're contracting. Very rarely do you contract with gravity. You contract against gravity. So I want you to start thinking opposite. It's not the lower that's the problem, it's the higher. The higher is making up for something else going on. Now, she had been through the doctors and everybody else to try to fix her neck. And so much so that the doctors had said, hey, you need to have surgery. Well, she didn't want to have surgery, which I applauded her, because there was a recent article that just came out a couple months ago that was a validation of an article that had come out 10 years ago in the LA Times that studied surgeries. And the conclusion of that study was that 95% of all surgeries are unnecessary.
What percent?
95. 95% of all surgeries are unnecessary or preventable. Do you know how much money that equates to? If we eliminated 95% of the surgeries in our healthcare system, do you know how much money would be available to actually cure people? And focus that money on real things like prevention? But that's not how our model's set up, is it? We're not a healthcare system. We are a disease care system. We care disease. We don't prevent anything. It was funny, when I was in San Diego, I did an event at a company called GenProbe. I don't know if they're still around. Are they still around? Yeah, so I was talking with the CEO of this company. It was this Japanese gentleman, very nice guy. We were talking about the philosophies, because in Japan, a lot of the large companies, first thing they do in the morning is what? They get everybody out in the courtyard and they all do some type of Tai Chi or yoga or something to get their employees set up for the day. That's called prevention, right? So we were talking about the philosophies, American versus Asian, European. And he said, yeah, he goes, we're very preventative. He says, but when we get to the point where we can't fix anything, we come to America because we know they're reactive. They're the best known for reactive medicine. So if you have a real big problem, we've got the technology and the surgeons to help you out. But I would still argue the point. The dentist that I alluded to just a moment ago, right? Well, he had a hip replacement 2 years ago, left hip. When I measured his left hip, his left PSIS to ASIS was -6 degrees. Should be 10 degrees, according to what we found. -6 degrees. Now, I wouldn't know this unless I measured it, right? Right hip was at a -2 degrees, and left hip was elevated about 4 to 5 degrees. Just complete bam, just what I call a flat tire, no leverage in his body. Now, here's my problem with surgeries. I am not against hip replacements. If you have a bad hip, you have a bad hip, right? If I catch you in time, maybe we can prevent that surgery for sure, to eliminate the wear on that hip joint. But let's say that you're at the point now where you have a bad hip and you have to have the surgery. Well, here's the problem. 99.9% of the people that go into the surgery look like this, or like this, or like this. And they go in there, they're all out of balance, they're all imbalanced, inflexible. They're just not a functional structure at all. They get on the surgery table, they get their hip replaced, they get off, they still look like this. They're still the same dysfunctional body they went into the surgery with. And this is what frustrates me the most when I talk to the medical community, because you've still, even if they need that surgery, great, I'm not going to dispute that. But do something, put them through a program that allows them to get as functional as they can and balanced as they can before they have that surgery. What is it going to do post-op? What do you think it'll do for them post-op if they were actually to go through a program like Symmetry? What do you think? How?
Faster.
So, quicker recovery, correct? Every single person that has gone through Symmetry, that has had a hip replaced, Addie can attest to this. She knows someone personal that's done this, one of my clients. Every single person who has gone through Symmetry and has had a replacement has recovered twice as fast as the normal person. And they say, yeah, well, I went through this program, but do I get calls? No. They don't care because they're a number and they're a dollar amount because the insurance pays out. That's the problem with insurance. If insurance stopped paying for these surgeries, we would seek alternative offerings. So I'm not opposed to the surgery. I'm opposed to not putting somebody through a program that allows them the best rehab after, quick recovery, and what is it also going to do? Because what happens if you go post-surgery and you're still standing like this? What's going to happen?
It's going to happen all over again.
Something else is going to wear out, right? Maybe the same joint. I know technology is getting better, but you still have the same dysfunction. So the force is still going to be compromised in the body. So you're not really preventing anything, are you? So the real question is, how many of these people go back for second surgeries? Take my dad. Love him to death. Got both hips replaced. And I told him 17 years ago, you're going to have your hips replaced if you don't do something about your, what I call your no butt posture. Because dad is like this, walking in, here, But taking family through this is a whole nother conversation. You guys know what I'm talking about. All right, so here's what I look at. Check that out. Look at her left hip. Everything to me, from a physics perspective, is based upon levers and pulleys. Levers and pulleys. Levers and pulleys. Levers and pulleys. Let me say it again, levers and pulleys. When somebody comes into my office and they start crying about their pain, I empathize with them, as you can tell.
Yes.
I don't care about their pain. I don't. I know that I had it, and I know that I didn't like it, and I know that I don't want it ever again. Because I like being physical, I like working out, I like playing basketball, I love it. And I'm going to do everything I can to keep doing it for as long as I can, because it's fun. I don't want to make pain an excuse for me to say I can't do that anymore because my back hurts. I hear that every single day from somebody. Well, I can't do that anymore because my foot's a mess. You can do something about it.